on satellite, on Freeview, on cable, on radio, on mobile, on the web and around the world. This is First at 9 on Other Derana 24/7.
Tonight, beginning two-day visit, President Maithripala Sirisena holds discussions with Qatari Foreign Minister. Minimum standard for medical education. Sri Lanka Medical Council draws the line on requirements. Port City progress inspected. Government anticipate first phase to complete soon. New legislations under preparation.
Almost around 300,000 rupees per perch for the reclamation work, but you can sell it out for 20 million something.
And street harassment in Sri Lanka. How bad is it?
I was traumatized.
Tonight, a First at 9 in-depth report. And in international headlines, breaking with tradition, China reveals leadership committee, no clear successor to President Xi named. Good evening to all our viewers across Sri Lanka and around the world, and thank you for being here with us tonight. I'm Mahesh Johnny. Tonight we begin in Qatar, where President Maithripala Sirisena arrived in Qatar this evening, commencing his two-day visit. The President and the delegation was received by Qatari Minister of Economic and Commerce, Sheikh Ahmed bin Jassim Al Thani, and the Sri Lankan Ambassador in Qatar, ASP Lianage. Meanwhile, President also met the Minister of Foreign Affairs in Qatar, Sheikh bin Mohammed Al Thani, this afternoon. Strengthening economic, trade and touristic ties were discussed at the meeting, and the President expressed views on the investment opportunities the businessmen and investors have in Sri Lanka. Meanwhile, President Sirisena joined the Sri Lanka Qatari Business Forum held in Doha, Qatar as well. A gazette extending the term of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry probing the controversial central bank bond issuance by a further 6 weeks was issued today. President Maithripala Sirisena appointed the Commission of Inquiry on the 27th of January this year to investigate controversies surrounding the issuance of the Treasury bonds by central bank. Although the Commission was originally appointed for 3 months, its term was extended at 2 occasions by 3 months. The gazette published by President Secretary Austin Fernando under the directives of President Maithripala Sirisena points out that the term of the Commission is extended by 3 months considering its current role. In the meantime, Colombo Fort Magistrates Court today rejected an appeal by owner of Perpetual Treasuries Limited Arjun Aloysius seeking permission to leave the country. Earlier this month, the Colombo Fort Magistrates Court issued travel bans to Arjun Aloysius, CEO of Perpetual Treasuries Kasun Palisena, its chief dealer Nuan Salgado and IT executive Sachit Devathantri. The chairman of Sri Lanka Medical Council, Professor Kelvin Gunaratne, insists that minimum standards of medical education currently in place will be left untouched. The decision to leave the minimum standards of medical education as it is was arrived at during a meeting held at the Sri Lanka Medical Council today.
Medical students of government universities held a protest in front of Sri Lanka Medical Council against introducing changes to the minimum standards in medical education this morning. Meanwhile, the management committee meeting of the Sri Lanka Medical Council got underway with the attendance of members of the Medical Council, Government Medical Officers Association, Association of Medical Faculties Lecturers and some other parties. Following the management committee meeting, the Sri Lanka Medical Council convened at the same premises, which saw the participation of its chairman, Professor Kelvin Gunaratne. While the session was underway, medical students staged silent protests in front of the building in protest of any possible changes to the minimum standards of medical education. Subsequent to the discussion, the chairman of the Medical Council revealed the decision taken at the meeting.
We didn't discuss a solution for the Saitam issue. That's a decision which should be taken by the government. We took a decision on the minimum standards of medical education. The standards are already made. We decided whether to change them or not. We won't change them.
Supreme Court today issued notice on Deputy Minister Ranjan Ramanayake to reappear before the court on the 21st of November pertaining to charges of contempt of court. Deputy Minister Ranjan Ramanayake appeared before the Supreme Court following a petition filed by Venerable Maga Kande Suddate Satera and a retired Air Force official.
President's Counsel M.A. Sumandaran, who represented the Deputy Minister, briefed court about numerous newspaper reports and books which revealed existing corruption within the judicial system.
My fight is to make the judicial system free of corruption. The persons who have money, thugs, bond scammers and several others escaped from the law with the assistance of the President's counsels whose charges are excessive. I respect the judiciary. I respect the law.
Former chairman of the Sri Lanka Medical Council, Professor Carlo Fonseca, also spoke to the media.
What I have to say is to be careful when expressing the truth about the judiciary, as it is very dangerous. But he speaks the truth. Ranjan is honest and not corrupt. That is why I am here with him.
Minister of Finance and Mass Media Mangala Samaravira today responded to comments expressed at the forum Viatmaga worked off recently with the auspices of former Defence Secretary QATAR Rajapaksa. Releasing a statement, the minister highlighted comments made by a former officer of the army who allegedly said that all who support the new constitution should be killed. He said such comments remind the people of the horror experienced back in 1988 to 89. Minister Samaravira went on to say that he identified the forum Viatmaga as a campaign to bring about destruction to the country at its inception and that it is a measure taken by former Defence Secretary QATAR Rajapaksa to fulfill his future political agenda. The minister labels Rear Admiral Sarath Weerasekara, who was also present at the campaign, as the obedient spokesman of QATAR Rajapaksa. He says the Rear Admiral stirs up nationalistic sentiments within the country. Speaking on parliamentarian Vimal Weerawansa, Minister Samaravira says the parliamentarian is attempting to remind the country of the horror during the 1988 and 89 by saying the parliament should be bombed. Saying that over 6.2 million people in the country call for a new constitution to prevent a chaotic political situation manifesting in the country, the minister said the public have already experienced the horror of such a situation. In conclusion, the minister affirms that power-crazed forces cannot stop measures geared towards establishing reconciliation within Sri Lanka or change the course of development. Cabinet co-spokesperson Minister Dayasiri Jayasekara says that the proposed constitution will be the best medium to solve the issues faced by the Tamil community. The minister made these remarks replying to questions raised by journalists following the cabinet media briefing at the Government Information Department today.
There are different views. The UNP say that they will be in favour of what the majority seeks. As the SLFP, we say that we can't remove the words unitary nation and prominence given to Buddhism. We also talked about many issues related to the devolution of power and presidential system. Not only us, but many other parties, including the joint opposition, have expressed their views on the matter. And they all started opposing the steering committee report, creating so many problems. If people don't like a new constitution, then they have the liberty to do so. But there are so many issues with the current constitution, especially with regard to reconciliation process and the local government system. There are extremist elements who are using this steering committee report. Let's not do that and instead bring us solutions as to the issues faced by the Tamil communities, because this will be the only opportunity we would get to discuss matters concerning the Tamil community.
ඔගොල්ලෝ කියනවා තාම කෙටුම්පත අදලා නැහැ කියලා. නමුත් දැන් ආමුදුරෝ කියන්නේ අවශ්‍යම නැහැ කියලානේ. ඒගොල්ලෝ සලකා බලන්නවත්.
ඒක තමයි ඉතින් එක එක අදහස් තියෙන්න පුළුවන්.
There can be different views, but think about this sensitively. Over the last 50 years, the Tamil community of this nation has been asking for justice by changing the constitution. If you can give us any other solutions without any hindrance to that objective, we like to accept it.
ඒක නැතුව අපිට වෙන විකල්පයක් තියෙනවා. ඉතින් අපි ඒකට සූදානම්. අපිට කිසි ගැටලුවක් නැහැ.
Leader of the Pivithuru Hela Urume, parliamentarian Uday Gammanpila says the only way to defeat a new constitution is to prevent a public referendum, and such should be done in parliament. He made these remarks at a media briefing held in Colombo today. If there was to be a public referendum on the federal constitution and it is passed, the path is paved for the Tamil Elam. Even if it is defeated, the results of the referendum will be used by the Tamil separatists to bring about the Tamil Elam with the help of the international community. So, to prevent this situation, the only thing that can be done is to not let the constitution bill get the 2/3 majority in parliament. That will eventually stop the referendum as well. We already have 54 parliamentarians from the joint opposition, which means we only need the support of another 22 parliamentarians. However, 11 parliamentarians from the SLFP and 6 UNP parliamentarians have promised us that they will not cast their votes in favour of the constitution. That means we only need the support of another 5 parliamentarians. We would like to warn the government that if they try to move forward with the constitutional reforms process without heeding the advice of the Mahasangha, there will be bloodshed in the country.
තවදුරටත් ඉදිරියට යන්න හැදුවොත් රටම ලේවිලක් වීම වළක්වන්න බෑ කියන අනුතුරු ඇඟවීම අපි ආණ්ඩුවට කරනවා.
In other local stories, parliamentarian Venerable Athurali Ratanathera says that the interim report by the steering committee on the proposed constitution does not have views by major political parties such as the SLFP or the UNP. Addressing a media briefing in Colombo today, he went on to say that the report therefore leads to the destabilization of the country.
This subcommittee report has completely obstructed the pathway for peaceful solutions for issues of minority communities as well as the reconciliation process. This document is not at all a solution for problems faced by the majority or the minority communities. The President promised that he will only remove certain dictatorial powers in the executive presidency, so he cannot have a stance of abolishing the executive presidency. When compiling a subcommittee report, they should at least mention the stances of the SLFP and the UNP. However, the SLFP had already mentioned their stance, and as I understand, they don't even have the stance of the UNP because UNP had not clearly expressed their views yet.
With the local government elections expected to take place next January, the topic of an electoral system is debated on both political as well as social platforms. Speaking on the Constitution, Kenyan academic and expert in constitutional law Professor Yashpal Gai says that an electoral system should respond equally to the communities of the nation, and the first past the post system comes up short in that respect.
Well, I think the electoral system that you adopt would depend to some extent on what option you choose. Your basic units are religion or language group, or whether you see every citizen having equal entitlements and so on. So to some extent, what system you adopt of electoral system might depend on that. But assuming one wants generally a fair system, then I suppose it's important to relate the number of votes cast for one party to the overall representation in the legislature. The membership of the House has to reflect the broad support in the country. So if people are living in one particular area, but there are certain minorities which vote differently, normally the minority would be completely ignored when you choose MPs. So a system which responds accurately to the distribution of the different communities.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel, Derana 24/7.
Welcome back everyone. On to a feature story of this week. Did you know that over 85% of women in Sri Lanka who are within the age group of 20 to 35 years experience street harassment on a daily basis? The issue is only highlighted whenever rape, murder or retaliation of a woman is highlighted in the news, but then it's forgotten after some time. Now, First at 9's Anuradha Fonseca took time to look into the issue to uncover any possible unfathomed consequences brought on by the questionable practice.
Most women who've been subjected to public harassment say that the mental distress lasts throughout the day and possibly for weeks, depending on the severity of the harassment.
This happened to me when I was 16 years old. And my mother and I, we were walking at PETA at around 5:30 a.m. Suddenly, a man just basically groped me and just walked past really fast.
Why do boys and men tend to verbally and physically harass members of the opposite sex in public spaces?
The culture that we live in perpetrates this idea that it is okay for men and younger boys to catcall, whistle. So it is something that is encouraged. It affects their confidence. It makes them think about what they're wearing, whether it is their own fault that they're targeted this way.
Is street harassment a mental illness? What leads a man to harass a mother, a sister or a daughter?
Now you have heard about sexual disorders. Out of that, there are some sexual problems are called paraphilias. They do this behavior usually in a public place. Now you understand these are sexual deviations. What you have to do, not to look at them sarcastically. We can do counseling, we can do treatment.
Despite not being a much talked about issue, the cost of subjecting women, the gender majority in the country, could be devastating.
I had trouble sleeping. Like in the middle of the night, I would wake up. I was traumatized. And the long-term effect was that when I get up in the morning to go somewhere, I would always pray to God, asking Him to protect me from people who would harm me, who would touch me. And it's ironic how I, the victim, who has to be in the dark and speak like this, while my victimizer is out in broad daylight roaming around and nobody ever does anything about this.
37% of respondents of an online survey on street harassment said that it had affected their performance at work. Such a scenario clearly has an adverse effect on the country's workforce. With the country getting a bad reputation very much on the cards, foreign tourist arrivals may dwindle. Under the section of travel advisory of British High Commission Sri Lanka, it says, quote, Western women continue to report incidents of verbal and physical harassment by groups of men. Such harassment ranging from sexually suggestive or lewd comments to physical advances and sexual assault. There has been an increase in sexual attacks against females in tourist areas, unquote. What can be done to control and completely eradicate this situation in the country? Are there any legal provisions to tackle street harassment of women? And if so, what are they?
At the moment, there's no special legal remedy other than for them to go to this QATAR Karyanse and complain that. If they go there, at least they don't have the number of the vehicle. They don't know the name of the person. They are clueless. So there's no way of proceeding with that manner also. So due to that reason, we need to have a special rules and regulation, especially preventing street harassments for ladies.
Given that the majority of Sri Lankan population feels threatened by the opposite sex during something as common and mundane as walking the streets, alarm bells should start to ring. Sri Lanka used to have a rich history where women were much respected. Sadly, the respected position of women in society has degenerated. So it is time that Sri Lankan society turn back the clock and return to the days when our own values and ethics were championed, enabling women to live their lives with the freedom enjoyed by men and to contribute to the economy.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe today ordered a disciplinary inquiry into Western Provincial Council member of the UNP, Ramthi Rodrigo, who was recently arrested following a shooting in Dewlapitiya. The UNP leader instructed the UNP General Secretary Kabir Hashim to conduct a disciplinary inquiry on the provincial councillor, who was remanded along with 6 other suspects over the shootout until the 7th of November by the Minimangoda Magistrates Court yesterday. With that, let's now take a look at other stories making news across Sri Lanka.
Former chairman of Litrogas, Shalila Munasinghe, and 3 others were further remanded today until the 6th of November in the Taiwan Far Eastern Bank cyber theft case. Rear Admiral Siriman Ranasinghe was today appointed as the new commander of the Sri Lankan Navy. Ranasinghe was appointed as the Chief of Staff of the Sri Lankan Navy in July 2015. He will take over from his predecessor, Vice Admiral Travis Sinaya, who assumed duties at the position just 2 months ago on the 22nd of August.
On to business news now. 50% of work on the first phase of Colombo Port City development is now complete, with government estimating that land reclamation for the project will be completed by mid-2019. The project, spanning 269 hectares of reclaimed land, is a development undertaken by Czech Port City Colombo, a wholly owned subsidiary of China Communications. Speaking to media following an inspection tour this morning, Minister of Megapolis and Western Development, Partly Champika Ranawaka, said the government is in the process of preparing legislation coupled with tax incentives to lure foreign direct investment into the capital's ambitious financial hub development.
Journalists were given a rare opportunity to come and visit the Colombo Port City, where 50% of the land reclamation work has been completed. Now, many developments have been taking place, and it's of course an ambitious project. But the question remains is if projects such as this is sustainable investment for the future and for the government of Sri Lanka. Colombo International Financial City, formerly known as Colombo Port City, was subject to much political controversy since it was officially launched under the former President Mahinda Rajapaksa and Chinese President Xi Jinping back in 2014. However, 6 months later, the $1.4 billion project came to a standstill, with the new government highlighting environmental concerns and issues surrounding the sovereignty of the new land that will be created. In August last year, the project received a green light with the signing of a tripartite agreement, bringing a new development under the governance of a new act titled Colombo International Financial Centre Law. Speaking to media at the project office today, Megapolis and Western Development Minister Partly Champika Ranawaka explained how the new city will be managed once developed.
To manage the city, there will be a new company other than the Colombo Municipal Council. So to provide utilities like water, electricity and sewage, waste management, there will be another company. The government and the Chinese partner will form.
The International Financial Centre development, which follows a smart city concept, aims at rising as a prominent financial hub in the Indian Ocean region. It is projected that 15,000 new employment opportunities will be created with the inflow of foreign direct investment under its initial phase. Over a period of 30 years, Sri Lanka anticipates foreign investments to the tune of $13 billion and the eventful creation of some 80,000 jobs.
The reclamation land, government owns 62 hectares plus 91 hectares of public place. On the other hand, all the other lands belongs to the Sri Lankan government, belongs to the president. So it's only a leasing out process. When the Chinese company is going to dredge sand, they are going to pay, we have already calculated, almost around 300,000 rupees per perch for the reclamation work, but you can sell it out for 20 million something right now. So that is the profit earned by the Sri Lankan government.
Meanwhile, the second environmental impact assessment covering the development of the land and building is expected to be released for public comments next month. But what happens when the reclamation work is complete by 2019?
After the completion of the reclamation work, President has to declare this area as part of Sri Lanka, and not any government agency other than the President and the UDA is entitled to enter into kind of MOUs or any other thing. But at the meantime, the Prime Minister's office is working on legal basis and the other modalities, how to formalize new legal system, new tax system and all these things. But the entire the real estate business will be done by the Megapolis Ministry.
Let's take you to the stock market now. Colombo equities closed on a positive note today for a second straight day, driven by gains in banking sector stocks. Gains in Hatton National Bank, Sampat Bank and Ceylon Coal Stores drove the main index to positive territory, with the bourse making turnover of 893 million rupees. Total foreign purchasers accounted for about 44.7% of turnover. Meanwhile, foreigners remained active, closing as net buyers, mainly due to foreign purchasing in Ceylon Coal Stores, John Keel's Holdings and Sampat Bank. For more from the trading floor, let's cross over to Imeshi Fernando from the Colombo Stock Exchange.
Top 5 gainers of the day were PC Pharma, Orient Finance, Adam Capital, AIA Insurance and Prime Finance, while the top 5 losers were Blue Diamonds, Non-Voting, Adam Investments, Radiant Gems, Tess Agro Non-Voting and Blue Diamonds. Today's foreign purchases were 488.48 million rupees and foreign sales were 220.64 million rupees.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.
Welcome back everyone. On to international news now. China's Congress Party today revealed its leadership committee headed by President Xi Jinping. In addition to President Xi Jinping, Premier Li Keqiang is the only continuing standing member of the 19th Communist Party of China's Central Committee, comprised of 7 members.
5 members were promoted for the 5-year term, replacing retiring members including anti-corruption chief Wang Xishan, who is a key ally of Xi. The new standing committee, which has omitted the inclusion of a clear successor or younger members, fueled concerns over the indefinite ruling period of the 64-year-old president.
Let's now take a look at some other stories making news across the world.
The 2 suspects in the murder of the estranged half-brother of the DPRK leader Kim Jong-un, Kim Jong-nam, were yesterday brought to the Kuala Lumpur air terminal, where the attack took place last February. Indonesian Siti Aisyah and Vietnamese national Duan Thi Huong were accompanied by the judge and the legal teams following the declaration of the session as open court. US Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, who is currently undertaking a diplomatic visit in India, said today that Washington stood ready to provide India with advanced military technologies. He expressed these views during post-talks with the Indian Foreign Minister Sushma Swaraj in New Delhi, while pledging to strengthen anti-terrorism cooperation. Israel today approved the expansion of a Jewish settlement situated in the heart of a Palestinian neighborhood of East Jerusalem. According to international media, building permits are issued for 176 new housing units, nearly tripling the number of settler homes in Zion settlements.
You are watching Sri Lanka's trusted news brand, Derana 24/7.
On to sports now. Launching the domestic tournament structure for 2017-2018, Sri Lanka Cricket today stated that windows are open for every tournament conducted by, on or behalf of Sri Lanka Cricket by provincial and district associations.
According to this, every tournament has a window so that the provincial associations, district associations, clubs as well as the players would know exactly when their tournaments are coming up and when they have to be ready for the tournaments. So this is something very essential for a tournament, so that all the stakeholders are very much aware about the tournaments that are being conducted and when they are conducted.
Minister of Sports Dayasiri Jayasekara is insistent that the influence of the Pakistani government does not play a part in the Sri Lankan cricket team playing a 2020 match in Lahore. He expressed these views addressing the cabinet media briefing held today.
පාකිස්තාන් ලාහෝර වලට ශ්‍රී ලංකා කණ්ඩායම යන්න බැහැයි කියලා තියෙද්දි යන්න ලෑස්ති වෙන අලුත්ම ටීම් එකක් දාලා ඒක ගැන මොකක්ද ඔබතුමාගේ අදහස?
ICC එකෙන් ලාහෝරේ
The ICC has given us a report that the situation in Lahore is conducive. Even the Pakistan government has taken measures to provide us utmost security. As a country, Pakistan has assisted us at a number of occasions. The same team must play all T20 matches. We thought it is better to use the same team for the entire series.
ඔබතුමා කිව්වා මේක රාජතාන්ත්‍රිකව ආපු කාරණයක් කියලා. අපි මේ සංචාරය කරන්නේ පාකිස්තාන ආණ්ඩුවෙන් ආපු බලපෑම හන්දද?
Don't misunderstand this. I only mentioned their importance to us and the support they have rendered.
ඔබතුමා සංචාරයට එක් වෙනවද?
මම යනවා ඉතින්.
ඒ වගේම මේ
I'm going since I cannot just send the team and team alone. Even if it is to get shot, I should go.
ඒ කියන්නේ පොඩි අවිශ්වාසයක් තියෙනවා.
A bit of tennis now. It was a good day for Roger Federer and Dominic Thiem yesterday as a duo recorded victories in the first rounds of the Swiss Indoor and Vienna Open.
Roger Federer delighted a capacity crowd to ease past American youngster Francis Tiafoe 6-1, 6-3 in his first round match at the Swiss Indoors in his hometown of Basel yesterday. Tiafoe fired a couple of shots past Federer at the beginning of the match, but the world number 2 soon got his measure. Federer faces Frenchman Benoit Paire in the second round tomorrow. Meanwhile, at the Vienna Open, Austrian Dominic Thiem entered his home fans in the first round with a straight set win over Russia's Audrey Rublev 6-4, 6-3 yesterday. Spain's David Ferrer, however, crashed out to Britain's Carl Edmund 6-2, 7-6.
6-2, 7-6.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Derana 24/7.
Let's now cross over to Zamit Keganayaka at the Derana Weather Centre with your forecast for the next 24 hours.
Good evening and welcome to the Weather Centre. Now, most parts of the country tomorrow is set to experience warmer weather. It may not be searing heat, but temperatures in the high 20s and 30s in some places is expected. Now, Central Hills and some areas in the southwest of the island will be much cooler, with temperatures in Kandy in particular maxing out at 24 degrees. In terms of wet weather, drizzles is forecast in most areas, with Central Hills and regions to the northwest and southeast, as the map shows, in for some heavy rain in the afternoon. That's your weather, and up next is your City by City forecast.
And that is a part of your world tonight right here on Derana 24/7. First 9 will return tomorrow at the same time. Be sure to join us then. And before we go, we'd like to take you to the mesmerizing Polhena beach in Mathura. The beach, situated about 2 kilometers away from the city centre, allows enthusiasts to leisurely swim through a sea area fenced with corals. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a good night.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.